Welcome to the Football Retro Podcast.
The word welcome, I guess, is stretching it a little when you're an Australian in a place like this today.
Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Football Retro Podcast. I am your host, Johnny, and I'm joined today by different co-hosts, Ak and Fatty. We haven't had this combination before, so how are you going, guys?
I'm going well, thanks. Bit of a late one tonight, but I'm hopeful that we'll get through most of this.
Nice. Ak?
Yeah, no, doing well, mate. Doing well. Excited to do our first first podcast with Fatty, and shout out to Ray and Darcy. We miss you here, mate.
Yeah, it's a special one today. So Darcy's not here. He's become a father for the second time.
Yeah, 100%. Celebrating the birth of his newborn girl. We hope you're doing well, mate. Thinking of you.
So congratulations to Darcy and family. Special one here at the Football Retro Podcast. Today's a fun one. Today we are comparing players. So modern era, retro players. It's those football discussions you have at a bar, you have with your mates, you have around the barbecue. Who's better, this or this? Why do you like this player better? So we thought, why not bring it? It's discussions that we have anyway. Why not bring it to the microphone? Any thoughts on today, guys?
Well, first, I really liked your saying bring it to the microphone. That's pretty cool. Let's bring it to the microphone, guys. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a really fun conversation to have, especially because when you compare players, you are also comparing eras. And I mean, when we grew up, football was played slightly different to the way it's played now. So I always think you're going to get really interesting comparisons. And then if you're comparing players from the past with each other, I mean, there's been so many great heated debates about who's been better, in that classic era.
I'm just here for the controversy, to be honest, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of controversial choices here. I'm a classic at heart. I love a lot of the retro players, even over current players, but I'm biased because I seem to compare them sometimes on attitudes or behaviours as opposed to footballing ability.
Well, there's been a lot of controversy already today. Before we started recording, we spent 2 hours talking politics. A lot of fighting and arguing and discussing.
It's politics in football. We can bring that in slowly.
Or NBA, Black Lives Matter. All right, let's not go there. Let's not go there again. All right, so talking players, I feel like when you're comparing players, you can be biased. You can have your own love, like Fatty was saying about loving retro players. What are you guys going forward with these discussions today in comparing these players? What are you guys looking at? Is it trophies? Is it player abilities? Is it stats? Is it a combination of everything? Is it you just loving the player and personality? Is it a marketing? What are you guys looking for in a player when comparing players like today?
Look, there's got to be some form of level playing field, I guess. But pardon the pun. But I guess you've got to be objective about it. You've got to take out your personal love for the player if you really want to make a fair comparison. I suppose it's got to be a combination of trophies, what that player achieved at the clubs he was at, even if it wasn't trophies. The aura around the player, or how that player captivated audiences, for example, with their playing style. There's a lot of players that didn't achieve or didn't have a lot of trophies, but are still cult heroes. So I think that's an important aspect of when you're comparing those kind of players, because if you're going to go off merit alone in terms of trophies, you're going to narrow down the list a lot.
Yeah, I mean, trophies always need to be put into context of the time that they were won and the role that player had when they won that trophy. So I totally agree. It's always a combination of everything. For me, I've always just been able to separate who my favorite players were to who was better, because I always look at favorite players as a different kind of factor and a different kind of criteria. So for me, whoever were my favorite players were just players that always either brought something distinct and different versus who was always better. And I mean, I think we'll get into the podcast where some players you might think I would like better, while they're my favorite, I have to give it to someone else just because of the objectivity of it. Different skills, different traits, and their trophy cabinet in general.
let's jump straight into it. So the first one that I wanted to bring up are three, what I think are number nines, classic nines. Batistuta against Shearer against Suarez. So three different players. Suarez, obviously a different era to the other two. If you had to pick one of those players, who would you pick and why?
I mean, like I love all three players, and I don't think growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s, there's not a footballer fan alive that wouldn't know who Batistuta and Shearer was. Like, what great strikers and great like talisman for their clubs. Both players. I find it funny that you pick both players because both players were real symbols of the clubs that they played in.
Well, they're very similar. That's why I picked them also. Like the classic nine, not very agile, not dribbling past plays.
Yeah.
But just a finisher. Just
Great
a
goal
classic
scorers.
9 goal scorers.
But you're talking about playing style. I'm also saying like their careers
That's true.
kind of married each other a little. One playing dedicatedly for Fiorentina, one played for Blackburn, but also Newcastle United in the Premier League. And while all three clubs are not considered the mega clubs in their leagues, so I do find that there is quite a relationship with them. And I mean, just to start it off straight away, Batistuta, my favourite striker out of the three. Who's better? I mean, that's a different story.
Well, let's go one step at a time.
Yeah.
So let's put Suarez aside.
Okay.
Batistuta or Shearer? Fadi?
Look, that's a difficult one. I mean, they're both, as he said, they're both cult heroes, pretty much, for the clubs that they represent.
That's a great way of putting it, cult heroes.
Yeah, I mean, they for me, I have to choose because obviously you're asking me to, but I choose Batistuta. The thing that would get him over the line wouldn't be ability, because I'd say they're very, very similar, very close.
But he's better looking.
Very, very, very close.
And that's what really matters.
They're both, because they've both not won trophies with their club, so they're very similar what they've achieved with that club. Batistuta for me had more of a charisma about him.
Wait, stop. Didn't Shearer win the Premier League with Blackburn?
Yeah, I don't really count that one, to be honest.
And didn't Batistuta win the Serie A with Roma?
Yeah, but hang on a second. We're talking about Batistuta, Fiorentina, and Shearer, Newcastle.
Okay.
Where they became that cult hero.
Okay.
Right. Shearer, Blackburn. It's like saying fucking Robbie Slater won a Premier League. So what?
That's
Same
true.
shit. It
That's
doesn't
true.
mean shit.
No, you're right. The Batistuta, like when you think Batistuta, you think the purple of the Fiorentina jersey. You think about that lion's mane of that guy's hair. Screaming in the middle of the field, scoring goals. There are more memories of Batistuta in terms of that provided moments of just jaw-dropping brilliance. And I think Batistuta was probably more athletic. I think Shearer, in terms of dividing them, I think Shearer was a bit more of a opportunist goal scorer. With Batistuta, he had a rocket of a shot. He scored his fair few goals outside the box.
Speaking of rocket of a shot, I'll just jump in there. The Batistuta moment that stands out for me, the goal against Man United. Never forget that. Never forget that. It sticks out. It's just, when I think Batistuta, that's the first thing I think.
All right, let's jump ahead then. So he won that argument. Batistuta or Suarez now?
So and I mean, that's the kind of thing that I was talking about before. If you ask me who was my favorite player, Batistuta by a long margin, like by a mile. But I have to say, Suarez was a more all-round player, and he is. Sorry, more technique, a bit more dribbling, better passer. He's a modern day forward, whereas Batistuta was an old classic striker. And I think, comparing errors, I think the modern day forward needs to do more in the build-up play versus Batistuta, who'd finish off goals, and who was more of an individualist, where he would either shoot those massive outside the box shots or capitalize on a good team play.
You're not going to like this because I agree with him, Suarez. Unfortunately for you, I know. Obviously, your background, you've got a certain allegiance to Batistuta, but Suarez technically is superior. If it came down to picking them based on what I like, I don't like Suarez as a person.
100%.
As a character, doesn't do it for me.
And the fact that he plays for Barcelona doesn't help anyone. I mean, let's be honest, guys.
But footballing ability, technical ability, Suarez, I think would win this one.
Look, to be honest, Batistuta is one of my favourite players of all time. But I'm going to have to agree with you guys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. At the peak, if you had Batistuta at the peak or Suarez at the peak, I think Suarez is a more dangerous striker.
He's more dangerous, and he offers more in the build-up, creativity, his vision. Like, honestly, them two as a strike partnership would be absolutely sweet, gotta say, because they complement each other really well. However, like, I go back to the fact that Batistuta was more of my favorite striker. He's one of my favorite strikers of all time, and I don't really care that Suarez was better. Good for him.
Look, my first email address was Batigol.
Batigol 182, guys.
Batigol.
That was my
What a
first
name.
email address ever.
Man, back
and
in the
Suarez
day.
also has a soft spot because I had to play against Suarez and actually marked him for half a game.
How'd you go?
Many years ago.
How'd you go?
Don't worry about the results.
Okay.
Don't worry about what happened.
They don't matter.
Let's move on. Let's move on. All right, next one.
Goals
Goalkeepers.
conceded matter, Johnny. Goals conceded matter.
Hashtag. Goalkeepers.
All right.
Buffon, Casillas, Neuer.
Look, why don't you guys start? Because I've got to get my thoughts together on this one. This is
All right,
a tough one.
same like we did with strikers. Let's leave Neuer aside.
I was going to say Neuer's a bit more recent.
Yeah,
More-
so let's Buffon, Casillas. And now this is a tough one. I don't want to spend half an hour on this one because we could, but it's a tough one because we all know the class of Buffon. We all know how good he is, how good he's been over the last 15 years or so. Casillas he's been my favourite keeper for a long time after Chilavert, obviously. Casillas, I used to copying him, I used to watch him. It's hard to choose, Fatty.
I feel the same way. Buffon, very classy player, although Casillas in his own right is classy as well. And as players, as characters, they both carry themselves with a lot of class. They don't come across as, petulant or childish or whatever. They both led teams, they've both captained the clubs that they were at.
They both won World Cups.
They both won World Cups, you're right. Very hard to pick between them. You'd take any of them in their peak in your team. For me, and this is subjective, I'm not being objective here, but for me, Buffon should have retired and shouldn't have come back. Coming back, I think, killed his legacy a bit.
Okay.
So it disappointed me when I saw that he did come back out of retirement, if you want to call it that. I didn't like that. I thought it tarnished his I think it tarnished his legacy a little bit.
Hack?
I mean, look, fair enough. I can agree that it probably did tarnish his legacy a little. But I think that when we think of Casillas, we think of the characteristics that, of Casillas in his prime. We think of the player that he was, the style that he played as a goalkeeper. And hey, as a Real Madrid fan since 2001, absolutely one of my favorite keepers, probably my favorite keeper of all time. But trying to think about it objectively, a lot of people tend to forget those periods of 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009 at Real Madrid where we weren't winning a whole lot. And our defense was leaky as, and Casillas with his jump first, reaction, reflexes style, it didn't help our leaky defense. You got to think that Buffon, as loyal as he was to Juve after Calciopoli, he was as consistent, as dominant as ever. In that later period, from 2005 to 2010, I would suggest he was the much better keeper. Based on form, based on achievements. It's only that we think about, all right, 2008 Spain, 2010 World Cup Spain, like that we think, all right, Casillas gives the nod. But I think overall, for as an individual, Buffon's had more individual achievements. He's been more consistent. He's played at the top level for longer. I have to give it to Buffon, and it pains me to say it.
So 1 point each on the deciding vote.
No, you don't.
Casillas is, like I said, my favourite keeper after Chilavert. And I hate doing this even more. I have to agree with Akram.
Thank you. I love it.
Yeah,
I love to hear that.
Wow.
Only because of consistency through the years. Like, it's been long. Buffon's been at the top level for a lot longer. Casillas, yes, did peak for 5-6 years, but as a goalkeeper, where you can play a lot longer, Buffon has been better throughout the
Yeah,
years.
I mean, and I just think like when you think about like goalkeeper, of the year awards, I think Buffon's.
They're very close. I think we looked at it before. They're very close.
They are very close.
They are very close in regards to goalkeeper of the year awards, and then obviously Neuer came in. So now Buffon versus Neuer.
So Neuer plays a very important role as a keeper because, well, yes, let's assume that Manuel Neuer, fantastic goalkeeper. In FIFA, he's a 90 rated goalkeeper. We get it. He's a great goalkeeper.
As I knew that we should have just looked at FIFA scores and not do a podcast.
Yeah, I don't know why we don't waste our time like this. But I think that you got to also provide the fact that Neuer was. I don't know if he was the first, but he did play a very crucial role as a sweeper keeper.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think that that really is revolutionising the keeper role. I mean, if you look at Edison and Man City, Edison is prized more for his technical abilities and footwork than as a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So look, if you're looking at the role as a goalkeeper, I still give it to Buffon. I still give it to Casillas over Neuer. But you got to be careful not to underestimate what Neuer's done with that position.
So what's your vote going to? Buffon? Fatty?
Look, I'm going to have to say Buffon as well if I had to pick out of those two. Neuer's more of a modern game goalkeeper. Completely different style. What's expected nowadays is for the keeper to be able to play with his feet, especially with teams that like to play out the back. The new rule changes as well. You can play inside the box, so that's exactly what they're used for. Look, I mean, don't forget that Buffon and Casillas played till... How long did Casillas play for? Did he reach 40 when he was still playing?
I don't think he reached
No, late
40.
30s, but he had a heart problem.
He did have a heart problem.
Buffon obviously...
He's still playing.
Yeah,
It's about
ticked over
48.
40.
Yeah.
Neuer's in his early 30s. So technically, in terms of goalkeepers, a lot of goalkeepers play till their late 30s.
Yeah.
So he's still got a few years to go. I don't know if that's going to affect him, especially with the pace of the modern game. Is it going to affect how he is? Is it going to affect his ability?
Looking at the last Champions League, it doesn't look like it. He was a standout.
Yeah, he was amazing. That's fair. But has he done what Buffon's done? No, he hasn't.
Hey, look, by accident here, we've chosen not the last three, but 3 consecutive World Cup winning goalkeepers. I didn't
fair
realise.
enough, yeah.
Oh, you're right.
So,
Spain, Germany.
So I think all 3 votes go to Buffon. It's the Buffon, Casillas, Neuer argument. Plus, Neuer beat Argentina in the World Cup final, so he doesn't get my vote.
Always has to be an Argentina reference in there somewhere.
All right, this one's going to be an interesting one. I like to hear the argument for this one. Maldini versus Ramos.
Maldini versus Ramos.
Johnny.
Sergio Ramos, Paolo Maldini. It's a tough one.
All right, so look, we know the resume of both these players. Multiple time La Liga and Serie A winners, Champions League winners. Ramos does have a World Cup over Maldini, but that's okay. The point is that Ramos is a player that also is renowned more for his defense than also more just his playmaking, his technique, his ability to be clutch, to make big differences. So I mean, I gotta say, Ramos does deserve a massive mention, but oh my goodness, it's causing me pain because I have to say Paolo Maldini is the better player. I mean, him and Franco Baresi were unmatched as a defensive duo.
Fatty?
Look, I think they're different. I think there's a little difference there. Ramos is a leader.
You're saying Maldini's not? Or was not?
Not in the same way that Ramos was. Maldini was a quiet leader. Ramos is in your face, win at any cost.
Yeah, and I think there's something different between those two, eh?
So that's the biggest difference for me. Maldini, I was going to say he's more versatile. He's more versatile at the back. Ramos can do it anywhere. Ramos, like you said, the clutch, pop up in the last minute and, score a goal for Real Madrid or, in crucial moments. He's done it in the Champions League. We've seen that. But, I mean, look, Maldini for me has to be because, as he said, his partnership with Baresi, I obviously don't know much about Baresi. I wasn't old enough to have watched him, but he formed partnerships with anyone that came in after him. Nesta, he formed an amazing partnership with him as well. He led quietly, calmly. He was very composed. If you think about a defensive player in terms of being a defender and what we were taught when we started playing football, Maldini epitomizes what a defender was. You weren't taught to defend like Ramos. You were taught to defend like a Maldini.
Yeah, 100%. And it goes to what you're saying about versatility, where Maldini made it fit with whoever he was partnered with. Because his partnership for many years was Alessandro Nesta in the middle of the fence, right? But then eventually Jaap Stam came in, Cafu came in. Maldini ended up on the left, back to where he started as a left back.
That's right.
Back in his late 30s, and he made it work. And that's because of the defensive IQ, his instincts, his experience. However, I do like what you said about leaders, because Maldini was a great captain by not offending anyone, by not there was no controversies. He kept a tight ship. Ramos was the kind of guy who he might piss up a few players off, but his style of leadership meant the difference between winning and losing a number of matches.
Yes.
And it was that kind of inspirational performances that, he's literally won trophies for his club.
It's hard to go past Ramos. Ramos is one of those players that you hate to play against, and if he's playing against you, you just hate him, but you'd love to have him in your team.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
I do love to have him on my team, I have to say.
Maldini, I don't know if we're looking at Maldini with nostalgic eyes as well.
Rose-coloured glasses, as they call
Why
it.
do you say that though? What is it about Maldini's resume that you look at and go,
He's probably thinking about the World Cup.
It's not about Maldini. No, it's about, because Ramos is playing now and we get to watch him every day, that we might not appreciate what we have in front of us.
It's always the case though. After they've retired, and you look back and you think, "Wow, how good this player was," or you got to observe their style and what they achieved and how they carried themselves and how they carried the team. So there is some truth to that.
Look, it is always the case. I agree, and I'm more prone to do it than most. I'm very nostalgic, especially when it comes to football. But at the same time, I look at players nowadays, and I think some of our most highly rated, highly praised centre backs. Who's been the two centre backs in the last decade that really epitomised the last 10 years? I'm thinking Ramos and Gerard Piqué.
Okay.
And both are known more for their technical ability as a centre back, for scoring in clutch moments.
Ramos is more of a grub.
Ramos, definitely.
But the point is, they were more known for things other than defending. And it's like we were saying before the podcast even started, 10, 15 years ago, we had a lot more of a higher standard of defense than nowadays. There are games where Ramos is just unplayable. He marks a player out of the game. But how many times? And I've got to say, as much as I love Ramos, and this is hurting me to say, how many times can you get a red card and then say, compared to Paolo Maldini, who, barely ever got a red card in his career?
All right, Maldini wins.
Yeah. So just to keep it clear, you agree with me again?
No, he said Ramos. He doesn't agree with Maldini.
Wow.
No, I didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth.
Go back to the report.
Let's rewind.
I'm sure.
No, I said nostalgic guys might say that Maldini is better convincingly, but it's a tough one. It's a very, very tough one because.
So you abstain from the vote entirely.
You can't abstain.
Pick a side.
Why did I invite you two guys to come to me? How did I end up losing this battle? All right, so Maldini wins that one. Next one, an English midfield battle.
I love this one.
I know you love it. Akram hates the Premier League.
Yeah.
So, Scholes, Lampard, Gerrard. Scholes, Lampard. It's very, very tough. Very, very close.
It's a great topic.
I'll let you start if you.
Yeah.
Get it out of the way.
No, look, honestly, all three players are so strong. You know what? It's really difficult because I don't see them playing exactly the same position as each other. Lampard
and Gerrard?
Lampard always played a little bit more forward, didn't he not? A little bit more attack focused, a little bit more focused on trying to score goals and set up in the final third. I felt like while Gerrard did that, he also had a bit of defensive responsibility, and he was a little bit more, up and down the pitch, a little bit more closer to a Patrick Vieira. than say Lampard was. I think Lampard was a centre mid, but there was like a number 8, where I think Gerrard was more like a number 6, right? I mean, look, we're all splitting hairs here, and you know how much we love our football. So for us, that it's important to split hairs.
All right, let's do that first. Lampard and Gerrard. Who would you go?
All right. So the way I look at it though is, all right. So goal scoring, I think Lampard was a better goal scorer. But at the same time, in terms of captaincy, in terms of performance, I think Steven Gerrard. Like I have to. I mean, his performance and what they did in the Champions League final against AC Milan, like I don't think you can underrate that. To go 3-0 down, to come 3-0 down and come back, that can only happen when you have strong leadership and someone really willing to put it all on the line.
All right, let me go next.
I just want to say one thing. Some people are going to argue about Gerrard when you say, coming back from 3-0 down or whatnot. You know, the famous Slippy Gerrard. I just wanted to throw that in.
Gerrard.
Just wanted to throw that in
he slipped on his
for any Liverpool fans listening.
He gave it to them, Baba. I want you to go last, Fatty, so you can have the deciding votes, because I'm going with Lampard. You talk about the Champions League final in Istanbul. No one's doubting Gerrard's abilities. He's a gun player.
It kind of sounds like you are.
No, I'm doubting it against Lampard's.
Really?
So,
why?
Sounds a bit biased because you're a Chelsea fan, obviously.
a little.
I like Chelsea. Don't get me wrong, but at the same, might not be the same as memorable. But to do it in Munich against Munich, you can't take that away from Lampard either.
I mean, like who was playing for Bayern Munich at the time?
They made the Champions League final and they're playing at home.
Okay,
you can't underestimate Bayern Munich because of the roster they had at the time. I can't tell you the starting. I can't tell you the starting 11 of Bayern Munich.
All I'm saying is like at the end of the day, you know, how strong was it compared to
Lampard
against AC Milan with Shevchenko and you know.
Look, I get what you're saying, but you're focusing your whole argument on one game now.
No, not one game, but it's like if they're in a tightly contested battle between the two.
No.
I think
Lampard. I think Lampard
fine.
decided more games. I think Lampard's, like you said, more of an attacking player, scored more goals, was a leader in a different way. Obviously, had John Terry in the team as well as a leader. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if Lampard's the highest scoring player in Chelsea's history. I don't know. I don't want to say that with confidence because I don't know. But from a midfielder, I think he's got a record as well for the midfielder with the most goals in the Premier League, or most consistent across.
He was a decisive player, no doubt about it.
I'll have to go with Lampard as an overall player, assisting, not taking anything away from Gerrard, but Lampard gets my vote. Fair enough. Deciding vote.
Look, this is a good one for me because I'm going to admit this here. I'm an England tragic. I actually love England, and I would always get disappointed when they flopped at international tournaments.
The hell?
Oh my goodness.
Wait, confirm this. Were you singing "It's Coming Home" last World Cup?
No, definitely not. Definitely. You know what? I'll tell you when it ended. For me, because I was very invested in the Premier League, I watched the Premier League religiously from the late 90s to, probably mid 2010s. The last 2 to 3 years, I've really lost interest in the Premier League, to be honest. I found myself watching more of the other European leagues. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, no, I wasn't supporting England to bring it home. I actually wanted them to lose because they fucking annoyed me with that song. But it was more around that golden generation of England. I was so disappointed that they actually didn't win anything. Same with Holland, their generation, they should have won and didn't win. Euro, same thing. So that's when I liked England. The Lampard, Gerrard goals, when they spoilt for choice in the midfield. You wouldn't know who to put in the midfield because they were all on form at the same time. And
the players that they did put on, you would know the starting 11, who they are, where they're playing.
The team practically picked itself. With the exception of the three that you just named, it was hard to pick one out. But look, Lampard and Gerrard now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go against Akram for this one.
Oh, no.
I side.
Come on!
I side with Lampard on this one.
I'm walking out.
I like Steven Gerrard. I love Lampard. I love them both. I think they're both great players. But going forward, I think, as Johnny mentioned, Lampard was a lot more pivotal in terms of deciding games, purely because of his attacking ability.
And also winning Premier Leagues. Stab.
Gerrard also had those moments. Gerrard was a great captain. Lampard didn't captain much at Chelsea. He captained a little bit, didn't he?
Some games, yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't of the same ilk as John
Yeah.
Terry.
But that's only because John Terry was there.
Yeah, but even after that,
It's
he was just
still-
a different style. He's a different style of leadership, as we mentioned before. Gerrard is a very Ramos style leadership where he'll do anything for the team.
Very charismatic.
Yeah, sacrifice himself. He'll do anything. Very, he'll do anything. He's a Liverpool through and through. I'm gonna have to go basically just off ability alone.
Yep.
And I'd say Lampard on this one.
Now, Scholes versus Lampard.
I mean, so the way I looked at it though was I don't think out of the three of them, I think Scholes is easily the better passer. I think he's one of the greatest passing centre mids of all time. I think it's funny how Man United was able to dominate and get to such a success in a 4-4-2 with a central midfielder that did as little defensive work as Scholes did and yet made it work. And that's a testament to Roy Keane, but it's a testament to how Scholes is able to move around the pitch, spread the ball around, and read the play. So for me, I gotta say it's Paul Scholes. It burns me to say because I hated Man United in the late 90s and early 2000s. I hated how everyone thought that Beck, Scholes, Giggs, Keane, etc. were the greatest thing ever. But Scholes, man, has to have it.
I reckon, personally, I think Beckham's probably the most overrated player of all time. That's a different argument.
Yeah.
you just brought him up, so I thought I'll drop that in. So you go for Scholes over Lampard.
Yeah.
Cool. Fatty.
I totally agree with you on this
Yes.
one. For me, it's definitely Scholes. Technically, I don't think people appreciate Scholes as much as he should be.
He's become
appreciated.
underrated.
Yeah, I don't think people appreciate him for what he's done. And especially you mentioned, the late 90s and early 2000s when Man United dominated. He did a lot of work that went unnoticed. He could pick a pass from anywhere. And I know that firsthand. As I said, I used to watch a lot of Premier League. I'm an Arsenal fan. So I hated Man United in that 90s and 2000s era because the rivalry was Arsenal-Man United. Before all the money came in, before the Man Cities and the Chelseas. Yes, he only came in after 2004. But
That's when Johnny became a fan too.
yeah, that's right.
Before.
So,
Sure.
So
the
for
Zola era, just to
so for
clarify.
me, I watched a lot of Man United at the time. Being Arsenal's feast rival, and Scholes was a different class. You can't even compare him to Lampard and Gerrard. Also great players in their right, but for example, if I was England manager, Scholes would be first, and then I'd have to pick between the other two.
So recently we had in the Football Retro Instagram a story saying help us with a debate. I had this argument with someone at work, the Scholes Lampard argument. I love Lampard, one of my favourite English players of all time, if not my favourite English player. But I think Scholes is the best English midfielder of all time.
Wow,
Better than Charlton?
Better than Charlton.
Yes.
unanimous.
It's a massive call.
Yeah, so to me, Scholes is the best English midfielder of all time. As much as I love Lampard, I have to give it to Scholes.
So I just want to put out that if you you're gonna say in a 4-4-2, you're gonna put Scholes there.
Yes.
Next to him, who you putting? Lampard or Gerrard?
Lampard.
You're putting Gerrard, mate.
Why?
Because Lampard didn't do as much of the defensive work that Gerrard
Don't
did.
worry, you've got
Gerrard was a
you've
lot
got,
more
you've got
physical,
Terry, you've got Terry cleaning everything. Don't worry.
Well, that's
Terry will clean.
That's why
The
Gerrard
midfield-
is better, mate. Come on, let's be honest.
Nah,
Because
Terry-
Gerrard did things that Lampard didn't do, and it's like you guys are talking about decisiveness in terms of goal scores. So how do you guys feel about someone like Luka Modric now? not the most dominant goal scorer, or even creating as many assists as other people would.
Yep.
But it's the kilometers made every match, the interceptions, the tackles. You guys need to look at the gritty stuff because defense wins trophies.
I get that. So you put Scholes on Lampard. Yeah, at the back you got Terry cleaning the midfield, the strikers, your wives, everything. Don't worry about it. It's all worked out.
Fair enough. I rest my case.
You know what's funny that you argue about that, because this is the same predicament that most England managers that managed through the golden generation would have had.
Who was the 06? Ericsson? He was 02.
Ericsson was 2002.
Was Capello 06?
I think maybe it was Capello, 2004 Euro, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Was Capello. Most England managers that managed that golden generation would have had that same problem, and that's why I don't recall which tournament, but it was a shock because they played a 5 midfield just to accommodate.
Yeah.
And I recall one time that then everyone's like, what the fuck's going on? And they played, I think they put Rooney up front on his own, if I wasn't mistaken, with Lampard sort of playing that shadow role behind him. But yeah, it's very hard. And that's probably why England never fucking did anything, because they were too sport for choice. They never picked the right... I don't know. I just don't know why it never clicked for them.
Do you also think that they were just a little too married to the 4-4-2? And
Yes.
then when they did decide to switch formations, it was probably a little too late.
I agree.
And then you put in the lone striker Wayne Rooney, who isn't really
He's not a
exactly
lone striker.
classic number 9 in that sense, and a lone striker, is he? So that's, I do really reckon, like, if they had switched to... But then, look, at the end of the day, at the time they were in, they were victims of the time that they were in. 4-4-2 was a classic formation.
Yep.
No one was playing 4-3-3
Yeah.
yet, and things like that.
All right, I want to move on so we can get into the heavy ones and spend more time with them. Ronaldinho, Neymar.
I don't know if I should go last or first, because I'm just going to be extremely biased.
I feel like I might be mistaken, but I think all three of us will go the same way. So I think I have no idea which way you're going. So you go.
You just said you did have an idea. You said all three.
I know.
think we'll go the
I
same way.
think you're going to go some way,
Yeah,
but you surprised me with your views a lot of the times in life.
I do like to be surprising. I'm almost half tempted to say Neymar just to surprise you. But no, like for me, it's not even an argument. Ronaldinho every day of the week. I think, like, for me, one of the greatest footballers. You know, a guy that, like, he epitomized what the point of having a smile on your face is when you watch football.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ronaldinho. I think magic.
Yeah, think fun.
It's one of those players that you grew up and you want to imitate, but you couldn't.
and I mean, look, you know, it's worth noting one of the few players that the Real Madrid fans applauded. You know, in El Clasico.
He was having fun while playing. Like he's a different player.
I had fun watching.
It's one of the players that you still go to on YouTube today and look at highlights, and
Yeah.
you're still entertained by what he used to do. It's a shame that he chose that party life, that he wasn't a little bit more professional, so we can enjoy him longer. But at the same time, like someone told me, if he changed his personality, maybe his football will be different as well. So
I think that's a rubber stamp of Samba football, though. That's just how they are. It's that party lifestyle. It's enjoyment. It's love. And I agree with both of you. It's definitely Ronaldinho for me. It's like you said, Johnny, magic. I don't know what other word to say about him, but you know, a player has left a mark on the football scene when he's created a move that others emulate. You know, for example, the Cruyff turn. Cruyff did that. Ronaldinho, the elastico.
yeah.
You know the flick over the head, all those sort of
Passing
things.
it with his back.
Yeah.
Staldinia.
But you've got to say the elastico, eh?
Yeah.
When you first started doing that, you're like, what the fuck is that? What are you doing?
So that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, he's left his mark with certain things. He did win a World Cup.
True.
He did everything with Barcelona. He won a Champions League 2006.
So we're not even considering Neymar. I haven't even spoken about him.
I wouldn't. I don't like Neymar. That's why I said I'm going to be very biased with this one.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm the same, unfortunately. I think the problem that we have with Neymar's career is that he's come to a Barcelona team that was already loaded.
Yeah.
You already had Messi, you already had, you know, Suarez, you had
Busquets, Piqué,
Iniesta, Xavi in the midfield.
Yeah.
Like, you already had.
What a team.
It's tailored for you. Yeah, let's move on from that. But the point is that, like, Ronaldinho created the house that Neymar got to play in.
Nice. I like that.
Thank you.
Let's finish on that note. All right. Let's do this one really quickly. 60 seconds.
Really quickly.
John Terry, Van Dijk.
Look, the thing about Van Dijk that you've got to give it to him is that like Liverpool was a very talented team that just didn't succeed, and then Van Dijk's come in and helped create and foster a championship mentality, marshaled that defense into a strong defense. Got with the addition of Alisson, they've become.
That's not quickly.
Mate, let me talk, mate. At the end of the day, like I do have to say, look, Van Dijk does deserve his credit, but in terms of longevity, John Terry was that strong centre back for what?
Yeah,
decade
look,
and a half?
I think John Terry is very underrated. His leadership skills. He's very remembered for his Wayne Bridge incident, but as a leader, as a defender, I used to love John Terry. I used to imitate him as a player.
Oh, just as a player. Okay.
Yeah.
I was waiting for some admissions.
It's funny that you say he's underrated. I don't think he's underrated. I think he's properly
He's
rated.
not, but he's not spoken about when you speak about the best defenders. And
I
stuff.
think the problem is because he's kind of started his career with, and then at the same time, I think a bit overshadowed by like someone like Rio Ferdinand who gets so much
you
credit.
might be right. Not always.
Mate.
On the other hand, Van Dijk. One of the arguments I heard recently, I don't know if it was Roy Keane that said it, but
Would have been Roy Keane. He hates him.
in the Premier League right now, take away Liverpool and possibly Man City, the other strikers are not really standouts. They're not world-class strikers that he's got to defend against.
That's a good point.
That was Roy Keane. That was Roy Keane's point.
Yeah.
Right? I saw that.
So yes, Man City have Aguero, De Bruyne coming through, Sterling. Take away Liverpool, Man United don't have anyone big. Tottenham, you might have Kane when he's fit. Chelsea don't have any big names in the last couple of years. So
That's a very good point.
Yeah, who do
Yeah.
they have to come up against? Look, for me, I'll be quick with this one. It's definitely John Terry for me. His leadership skills, how he carried himself. Van Dijk is 29, I think, 28 or 29.
Yeah.
I think there's still more to be seen from Van Dijk. So I think it's too early to judge
yeah, look, we
him.
can't rule him out. But you guys mentioned something before we started recording that he's been inflated by media.
Yeah, that's definitely the case as well. Purely because of what Liverpool's done. So
Yeah.
everyone's giving him kudos and fair enough. Yes, he has done a lot for Liverpool. He's led that back line well. But for me, I think defenders don't really peak till their early 30s.
Okay.
That's when you can really judge them. After their early 30s, 33, 34, then you can say, okay, how was he as a defender? I think Van Dijk still got a couple of years in him.
You sound like then you can judge your career.
Yeah,
when you hit
I
that.
think he's still got a little bit to prove. I mean,
Can I ask you guys? Then is it a case that he? I love this. Needs to leave the Premier League and experience other leagues?
No.
I don't agree with that.
He's in the
Perhaps Real Madrid. Like man, just.
Is that where you're going? you want him next to Ramos, don't you?
Or Varane, that's okay with me. I'm not picky, but I'm just saying to show what else he has.
He's in the strongest league right now.
Strongest league, come on, mate.
Contradicting what I just said about strikers.
Yeah.
The Premier League is still the most competitive league.
Fair
No,
enough.
I don't think he needs to leave. But like I said, I think he needs to be judged in a few years.
Fair enough.
I think it's too early to judge a centre back at 29. And in saying that, I think he's done fuck all with Holland. So that's still to be seen at the next Euros, and see how they perform. John Terry, yeah, England didn't win shit, but when he captained, he fucking led. So just based on that, I mean, Van Dijk's still a few years shy before you can judge him, I think.
All right.
Was that fast enough for you?
No.
No.
Fuck. Never happy this guy.
Arsene Wenger, Sir Alex Ferguson, Jose Mourinho.
Fuck, I didn't think this was coming in. I thought it was just
I know
players.
you just do this at the end,
I want to
Threw me off.
look.
trying to surprise us.
This could be a whole podcast on its own, coaches.
Yeah, it really could.
And this whole argument between these three coaches can be a half an hour discussion. That's why I was hesitant to throw it in. I've got two big scenarios coming up after this.
Two big ones still.
Yeah, Arsene Wenger, Sir Alex Ferguson, Jose Mourinho. All right, Wenger versus Mourinho. Let's do that first.
Why? Why did you just exclude Ferguson?
Because Ferguson's known as to be one of the best ones. So let's do Wenger Mourinho. Don't question me.
Why do you want to take so long with it? Let's just be cut and dry with it and just get to the
what
point.
happened in the 60-second
I'll
time
just,
limit?
I'll just
Wenger Mourinho, go.
Wenger.
That's because you're an Arsenal fan.
No, it's not because I'm an Arsenal fan. Because I think Wenger's done it for longer. Mourinho hasn't lasted more than 3 years at a club. Yeah, he's won, but he's won, then he's moved on, then he's won. There's no stability with him. He doesn't build a legacy. I don't think he should be purely judged on just winning a trophy. I can win the FA Cup fucking every year. It doesn't mean shit.
Akram?
Look, you know what? It's a tough one.
Before he goes on, I've got to add something else. Mourinho came in to a Chelsea with money. He had money at his disposal and he could have players. And Chelsea, in the Abramovich era when they first started, a lot of great players came through that club. You know. And I'm talking World Cup winners and whatnot.
Name me.
Makelele.
Yep.
Fuck. What are you talking about? Makelele's
No, because Drogba was a nobody.
Drogba wasn't a nobody. Drogba came from France. He was killing it. Crespo, Shevchenko. Are these nobodies?
And it's not so much like with that, like how many of those players were truly world class or not.
Adrian Mutu. And Mark Bosnich.
Wait, did you say Mutu and Bosnich together? On the lines.
That's what I said.
On the lines.
As soon as I said Mutu, it made me think of Bosnich.
Oh, bags. Sorry, go on.
No.
No, I didn't finish because I was saying Chelsea could afford those kind of players. Whereas Arsene Wenger changed Arsenal's whole playing style. He developed a new style, and that's how they became invincibles.
Yeah, like you gotta say.
Are you comparing?
It's such a tough one.
Are you gonna compare the players that Chelsea had with fucking Freely Ljungberg and fucking Perez and Henry, who came from Juventus?
No, I get that, but to a certain point, the reason why there was a whole Wenger out campaign was because he wasn't bringing in these players. So we have to question also is his transfer windows. Was he recruiting well? Yes, he did for a certain period in the early 2000s, but then towards the last...
but that's what you're judging them on who they brought in. I'm judging them on as a manager.
That's part of manager's job.
No, it's not. I think
recruitment.
But I think it's more important for a manager to be able to develop a player than to buy him, because being able to buy a player is going to depend on money. If I have $1 million,
isn't scouting and recruitment part of the manager's job as well?
Yeah, but if it's very hard to fucking scout Andrei Shevchenko. Fuck me.
but Arsenal, you're saying
it was kind of because he didn't do very well.
But you're saying you're like that. But Arsenal had the money to. Yeah, they didn't bring anyone in, and yet the last 5 years or 6 years of Wenger's career,
I
didn't have much success.
I don't agree.
Also,
I think
you guys are arguing though just Premier League accomplishments or Premier League accomplishments. You got to admit though that Jose Mourinho's accomplishment with FC Porto alone puts him in very rare spot.
Yeah, that's
Then he then goes on and gets a treble with Inter, and then he goes and sorts out Real Madrid, and then he burns the place to the ground before he leaves. But the point is, his successes had followed him wherever he went, and not just success, but massive success.
Except United and Tottenham.
Yeah. That's why it had followed him, and then I think success decided to go somewhere else.
So I'm saying he's just kind of imploded now. The last.
All right,
He has imploded, and does that tarnish his career?
All right, you said Wenger, you said Mourinho. So, did you say Mourinho?
I'm gonna have to say Mourinho.
Oh, damn it!
We know where this is going.
I was hoping that you would say Wenger.
Look, I mean, you think.
I'd have to decide.
You think about Wenger though, Johnny, because how much do you credit to someone who creates an attacking, beautiful style of football? Especially when Wenger did that in Premier League, no one was playing 1-2 touch football like the way Arsenal brought in. So how much credit does that give you?
Look, I agree, and it's hard going against Wenger, but that only happened for 3-4 years. Let's be honest. Am I wrong?
Yeah, until the money came in.
Am I wrong?
Until the money.
But why did that take away Arsenal's style of football, though?
It didn't take away. Arsenal still plays the same style of football. The problem is they just don't have the fucking players to do it. That's the problem.
And you do got to admit the funds was different between Chelsea and Arsenal. And as
yes and no. The way they spent
Yes and no.
the way they
You're trying to
the way they
convince him. He's already
spent
made
it
up
was.
his mind. He's already
All
made
right,
up his
30
mind.
years from now, I feel like Mourinho will be more remembered than Arsene Wenger.
No,
No, I don't think so.
I mean,
Arsene Wenger's built a legacy and built a fucking stadium for Arsenal.
the way you got to look at it, Johnny, is
You picked Mourinho. Why you got against me?
but when you say something like that, look, 30 years from now, I think both will be remembered very much. But you got to understand,
maybe.
Arsene Wenger changed the way every Premier League club
I agree.
played,
Look,
studied, trained, and focused. So you got to just put respect on his name. I think you're being too quick to just go, yeah, it's Mourinho.
all right, my vote goes to Mourinho. Mourinho versus Ferguson.
Who are you going to ask first?
Me, I say Ferguson.
I don't know, man. Like,
I say Ferguson. If you're gonna go against, like, talk about legacy, if you're gonna talk about success, if you're gonna talk about putting the English league on the map, if you're gonna talk about, you think United, you think Ferguson. Like, being objective, like you like to say, I'm gonna say Ferguson.
All right, so being objective, I find that such a difficult one because of the way you phrase the question. So for me, you've said Wenger, Mourinho. Now you're saying Mourinho, Ferguson. But I would probably put Mourinho, Wenger, Ferguson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, look, all right, so first of all, when you say a manager's been at a place for very long, and that's an achievement in its own, and it definitely is. But eventually, with the budget that you have at, say, Man United, when you're there 10 years plus, you're eventually going to figure out how to win another Champions League and get another success. So, like, you know, as long as you have the management that what do you call it, trusts you, eventually you are going to win it. I think a lot of people credit Ferguson for the beginning, like the late 80s, early 90s, and the Fergie's fledglings, and developing Man United into a dominant team. But Arsene Wenger did the same thing. And Arsene Wenger did do something that Ferguson never did, which was the Invincibles. Like, why does Ferguson get this automatic pass? He's better than Wenger, as you know,
because he's done it more often.
What do you mean he's done it more often?
He's won more trophies.
Look, he's won more trophies. He's won in Europe in European competition.
He won two Champions Leagues and 20 Premier Leagues.
No, like it is true. But all I'm saying is like
20.
I like to look at the X factors where, you know, Wenger changed the style of football that was played in Premier League. Wenger had a season undefeated. So all I'm saying is when it's all about leaving your mark, it's very hard to give Ferguson that automatic approval. And Mourinho's done it in different leagues, in different clubs, and what do you call
13 Premier League titles.
And how many years did he coach it?
20 something.
And let's compare budgets to budgets.
The first 5 or 6 years, he was going to get sacked because he did.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So eventually, all I'm saying.
Anyways,
is like,
I'm asking for a vote.
I said Mourinho.
Mourinho over Ferguson. I said Ferguson. Deciding vote, Fatty.
You make some valid points. Unfortunately, I'll have to give it to Ferguson, as much as it pains me to say it. I'm obviously an Arsenal fan. But, yes, Wenger revolutionised a lot of the playing style, not just at Arsenal, but in the Premier League in his early years. And it was something new that was never seen. Ferguson knew how to get the best out of the players that he had, even when he had, you know,
Jimba.
Eric Jimba. Oh, look, Ferguson was a man manager, and he knew what to do, and he knew how to get the results. The treble, you can't go past that. They've won the Champions League. They've been consistent in the Premier League. When he left, the wheels fucking fell off the bus. Pretty much.
That's a big part as well.
In Man United.
He did have Fergie time on his side.
Our Fergie time was ridiculous. 7-8 minutes of stoppage time. I don't know how that worked, but you can't. You mentioned legacy. Wenger left a legacy definitely in Arsenal, and will be remembered. But so did Ferguson. Man United fans know. You know, I can't even tell you now. I can't even think of how many managers they've burned through after Ferguson in such a short space of time, and still haven't found the winning formula.
So, out of curiosity, if it was Wenger against Ferguson, would you still go Ferguson?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a tough one. Like, I mean, good on you for trying to be objective, considering you're an Arsenal fan. All I'm saying is that I look at budgets. I look at the longevity of those transfer windows. I mean, every year, man, you know, we're bringing players in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have to admit, Wenger, like, while they did have that capacity that once in a while, They might smack down 40 million.
Yeah.
They weren't hitting 100 million.
No, I get it.
budget
Well,
every
look,
year.
but it wasn't. I mean, listen. Like one of our record signings. I forgot what year it was now. Would have been early 2000s. Andre Arshavin, 15 million. That was a record. Like,
that was a record. Come on, like, and so like, don't get me wrong. It's I get.
But
everything you've said in terms of
it's not
Ferguson is
it's not because of a lack of funds. That's what I keep going to. It's because of a lack of wanting to spend.
No, it was a lack of funds as well, man.
And that's where the argument comes with Arsenal fans, because in the past the owners come in and say we've got 100 million to spend, and then they don't spend it. So that's just administration.
But speaking about believing everything you read, that's also them saying, "Hey, we have the money." So, but then behind closed doors, they might not offer him that same money to spend. You know that very well with examples in Australian football that we've seen firsthand, where one thing's said to sort of quell the anger a bit amongst fans, but Man United definitely had a bigger kitty to play with. But at the same time, a lot of players Ferguson attracted because they knew you were coming to a winning team. So players would, if they had to choose between Arsenal and Man United at their prime, if a player wanted to play under Wenger because of the style, okay, they went there. But if the player wanted to win, they went with Ferguson.
fair enough.
All right, the two heavy ones.
Here we go.
Pele, Ronaldo, Cristiano. So let's start off with Ronaldo versus Cristiano.
So look, this is such a difficult argument because the numbers are so persuasive in Cristiano Ronaldo's favor. They are so persuasive. If you were to say, and let's define the argument here.
Yeah.
Who had the better career? Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yep.
But who was a better player?
That's
Mate,
my question.
This is the thing. What are you asking here? Are you saying that Cristiano is a number 9?
Who was better?
Are you saying Cristiano is
To
an
me,
out like Ronaldo?
and I said it in the podcast a few weeks ago. To me, Cristiano is a 9 because of his style of football. But
I don't know if I agree.
Yeah, fair enough. But better player, who would you go for, Ronaldo or Cristiano?
Fuck.
It's a hard one.
Player what? Footballing ability? Player overall, all round? There's too many variables here. There's too many variables.
All right, you've got 10 players. You've got an assisting striker, one striker left to go on the pitch on your team sheet. You're the coach. You've got Cristiano or Ronaldo. Who goes on the bench? Who would you pick?
Who's playing with him? It makes a difference because style, It's
Bergkamp. Bergkamp's the second striker. Cristiano or Ronaldo? Don't give me your life story. I don't want to hear it.
Brazil Ronaldo.
Okay.
Because Bergkamp will find that play. Ronaldo will make that run. Ronaldo can finish.
So Cristiano wouldn't?
Cristiano, I feel, is more greedy. He'd want to do everything for himself.
So if you had to pick Ronaldo or Cristiano as a better player, you would want Ronaldo.
Yeah, I'm too nostalgic when it comes to this shit.
I'm
not very objective when it comes to that.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's R9. It's Ronaldo. It's quite easily for me, only because I think Ronaldo had R9 Ronaldo had this ability to just break games, and I guess Cristiano also had that ability at times, but I just feel like sometimes he's also more opportunistic, where R9 would just create goals for himself. Look, it's a tough one because you're arguing about the last 3 years of Cristiano Ronaldo's career. Or in 2012, when he was a left winger, that was like a hybrid between left wing and striker.
Yeah,
and he'll do both very well.
Yeah.
So and that's the thing. I think we're thinking about the Ronaldo we know now, the Cristiano we know now, but the Cristiano of 2010, 2014 was a monster.
Yeah, look, no one's questioning Cristiano's abilities. Obviously, the
obviously
guy's a machine. The thing with Ronaldo is, I feel like he's
Ronaldo?
Brazilian. Correct me if I'm wrong. To me, Ronaldo is a mixture of Cristiano and Ronaldinho combined because he had that magic to him. He had that entertainment.
That's that Brazilian flair, but that's just.
But he still had a goal scoring ability like that to get a goal out of nothing, to be that
Cristiano
dangerous.
Ronaldo is a hell of a dribbler, especially in the
he
peak
is,
of his
but he's not
career.
as entertaining as other players.
And also look at if you look at careers, look at Ronaldo at Inter. His numbers were ridiculous.
Yeah.
His numbers at Inter Milan were ridiculous.
And at Barcelona,
the downfall.
It was an absolute.
The
and
downfall,
then Real Madrid.
The downfall for
He went there
Ronaldo.
as well, so.
was injury, so we know that.
Yeah.
So a fit Ronaldo would be a different story. Once again, he chose the party lifestyle. He wasn't the most professional player in the world. What if...
Common denominator, Brazilian.
But I'm going Ronaldo. You're going Ronaldo?
Yeah, I'm going Ronaldo as well.
And you're going R9?
I'll say Ronaldo.
R9 all the way.
So now it's Pele against Ronaldo. It's two Brazilians. Look, none of us were alive to watch Pele live.
No.
So we're just going off stats. We're going off what we've heard. What do you guys think?
Look, I heard... I read a lot of articles. I read that his goals scored were inflated. Like he was counting fucking goals that were in professional games, to get to his 1,000 or whatever it was. So, I mean, I don't know. The thing I don't like about Pele, obviously because I can't say I haven't watched, he talks about himself like he's the best. He believes that he's the greatest player of all time. He doesn't even say, he's not even modest about it. So, I mean, that's all I can really judge him on because I didn't watch him. The clips that I did watch, look, footballs are different back then. It's completely different. You're not going to compare the same thing. Like, different technologies now. You're talking about you had boots, synthetic boots and balls that swerved in the air and did shit. Whereas back then they played with a fucking leather ball.
Not only that, like now, and even in the Ronaldo era, the opposition was a lot more analysed. A lot more studying happened.
Defensively.
The thing that goes against Pele as well is he only played for Santos and New York Cosmos, obviously. In the Santos era, there were games where they'll win 12-0 or they'll win 13-1.
Yeah.
So
he'd score the majority of those.
It's not the same era. So those goals, even if they were real, Fatty, it's not a realistic compared to today's figures.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and like at the same time, the 3 World Cups Pele is known for winning. I mean, a lot of credit has to go to Garrincha for the first World Cup.
The second one.
The second one? Oh,
yeah, 1962.
Yeah. And so like it starts to, when you just look at resume to resume, 3 World Cups, like obviously people are very quick to give it to Pele in that regard. But like we said, like, Garrincha played a part. Many other great, like there were some superb Brazilian teams in that era. So you kind of think about it like that and go, well, but at the same time, Ronaldo in 2002, Ronaldinho, Rivaldo, Roberto Carlos, Cafu, it makes it so difficult to be able to define, to have a definition.
Sorry to cut you off. In '98, though, they made the final and he was the best player of the tournament.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And he was like absolutely special. So
to me, I'm going to give it to Ronaldo.
Man, it's so hard to be able to commit to it, but I'm going to have to say... No, I'm going to have to say Pele, guys.
Deciding vote?
Why do I always have to decide? I've decided 4 now. Was it 4 or 3 that I've decided?
Because you're black, your vote counts more.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, I don't know enough about Pele to give any determination. I mean, his numbers are astronomical. His World Cups and what he's done. Again, I just think it was a different era. I don't like how he is at the moment, or how he carried himself, or what he spoke about.
Is that because he did an ad for erection problems?
Yeah. Come on.
That's desperation there. But again, look, I'm gonna have to go with Ronaldo. Cool. I have to go with Ronaldo on this one.
That was the all-Brazilian matchup. And now let's move on to our last matchup, the all-Argentinian matchup.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you guys can all predict what's coming up.
Johnny was waiting for this one. Who? Batistuta and
Maradona? Ortega versus Aymar. No. So we're talking about Diego Armando Maradona versus Lionel Messi. So obviously with Messi in his
I think this is the easiest one.
Early to mid 30s. People are easy to give to Maradona in this argument just because of the World Cup, but I think there's more substance to this argument. I want to hear what you guys have to say before I jump in with a very emotional...
You're going to have to be deciding on this one. We'll leave this one to you at the end. So we'll have a little discussion and you can jump in. But feel free to start, Akram.
Okay, so look, the way I look at it though, straight out, going with Maradona all the way. And the real reason for me, at the end of the day, is in the era that we watch football right now, and the era of the Messi Cristiano era, we are living in the most unequal time in football's history. Clubs that are at the top have the most money, the most resources, the scouting reports. The next 18-year-old is dubbed the next superstar when he's way before he's even ready. You're picking 11-year-olds from halfway around the world. It's a different situation to when it was in the 80s and 70s, etc. Messi, as gifted as he is, joined a team that he took the baton off of Ronaldinho. He played with Xavi. Iniesta joined the team. Those are perhaps two of the top 5 centre mids of all time. Like, Messi played with one of the greatest teams of all time. Not taking away anything he did, but Maradona constantly moved away from the fancy clubs, the greatest clubs, and played for the underdogs. And he did something that Messi has not done, which was bring a World Cup trophy to your country, mate. And the thing about World Cups that you got to give a little bit more credit to is that World Cups are won by players from your country, not by $50 million transfer budgets.
Mm-hmm.
Fatty, what do you reckon?
Look, I have to go along those same lines. I'm a Messi fan.
Yeah.
When it comes to Messi versus Cristiano.
Yeah, me too. Messi, right?
I give it purely on footballing ability.
Yep.
I'll always go Messi. When it comes to Messi and Maradona, you made some very valid points there. Messi grew up in the Barcelona system. He went through that. He was trained through it. Whereas Maradona, as you said, moved around. He did it in Argentina. He did it in Napoli. He delivered them their first Scudetto. Things like that. Obviously, with Argentina, very charismatic, controversial. I think Messi's unlucky that Cristiano Ronaldo exists with him in the same era. If Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't in this era, I think Messi would be, it's Maradona, then Messi, two different eras, they won't be compared. But now, because he's there with Cristiano, it's hard. I think it loses a little bit of that shine.
But why, like, this is the argument that I have with everyone. We compare Messi to Maradona, and we're comparing Cristiano to Messi. Like,
it's unfair for Messi, I get that.
No, but to me, Cristiano's not even the same conversation as Maradona, yet Messi is. So to me, there's no question that Messi is better than Cristiano.
Yes, I agree. But let me ask you a question. Who would you've got Messi and Cristiano now. Who was equivalent or in that argument with Maradona in his era?
Out of them two?
No, in Maradona's era. So Messi has Cristiano. Who did Maradona have?
Platini.
Not even close.
I agree.
Not even
I know what you're saying.
Like, this is closer.
But what's that got to do with Messi?
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, I think Messi, in his quest to, I wouldn't say it's his quest, but I think in most people's thinking, that Messi's better or Cristiano's better, it's all been based off their club form and what they've done for their clubs, because both haven't really achieved for their countries, except Cristiano, obviously, with the last Euro. He
didn't play in the final.
He didn't play in the final. That was actually a good final, because I put money on Portugal to win in extra time. I fucking scored with some good cash. But even though when they look down and out, but see, I don't know. He doesn't. That's the issue. People compare them on their club form and say Messi, Cristiano, Messi, Cristiano, Messi, Cristiano. But then as soon as Maradona comes into the equation, everything else falls away because of the World Cup.
And with the World Cup, you get a lot of credit. And
I like the point.
You guys talked about Michel Platini, and you're like not even close. Like, look, that's where I disagree a little, because some of these elite players, I do think they are very close. When Maradona won for Napoli, won UEFA Cup, won Serie A, they were playing in one of the most competitive elite leagues like ever. You had Milan's Van Basten, you had Juve. Roberto Baggio was beginning his career in Fiorentina at the time.
Yeah.
So for me, to play for a small club like that in the most dominant, toughest league, to win, I mean, come on, like Messi's played for Barcelona. He was gifted La Ligas every year. Whenever Real Madrid had a down year, well, you're just going to gift it over to Barcelona.
So
I don't think
he was gifted. He was gifted the top goal scorer of the league.
Gifted's a little
he
bit
was
harsh.
gifted the highest goal scorer in El Clasico's history. He was gifted the most assists in La Liga's history.
No.
He was gifted the most Ballon d'Ors in the history of the trophy.
Johnny, why
He
are
was
you
You've been equal most.
With who?
With Cristiano.
No,
They didn't have the same amount of Ballon d'Ors?
6 and 5.
Really? Oh, yeah, because of this last one. Hey, the tiebreaker. So, what I'm saying, like, when I say gifted, though, like, come on. All right, you're going to give the goals and assists, but we're also talking about a league that's incredibly unequal. You can't talk about La Liga and Serie A from the 80s as the same. Not at all.
This is true.
No, I'm not arguing that. But
La Liga now is there's only 2 teams that can win it,
2.5.
with the exception of Atletico.
Once in a
the
while.
If they're
odd
on.
year.
When everything works really well.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're all talking about, like, how many goals can you score against Rayo Vallecano and Deportivo La Coruña versus Maradona playing against the toughest that Serie A had to offer. But the other issue, right, and this is something I don't think like we have spoken about yet, and this goes for Cristiano Ronaldo and for Maradona. Neither player has had the massive black eyes that Messi's had playing for Barcelona in the last few years in Champions League. He's lost in very bad fashion. Now, this last one, where they lost, I believe, 8-2, how much blame are you going to give to Messi? I'm not suggesting that. But they lost against Roma. They lost against Liverpool. Like, they've had some big black guys where he's not turned up as a leader or as a decisive player. Fucking Maradona would never be caught dead with that shit.
This is another thing. I don't think it suits Messi to be a captain. It applies too much pressure on him. I feel like when he's not captain, he performs a lot better. He has more freedom.
Yep.
2014 World Cup, when he captained, you could see it. Like, there's a famous photo from that World Cup where I think Mascherano was rallying the team and trying to talk to them, and Messi was just separately out of the group. So it doesn't portray him in a good light in terms of leadership. If you're going to encompass him as, you want to compare them as complete players, Maradona would lead, players would look up to him and expect him to do something special.
The other thing that you got to say, like, and this is the thing, is like you say, like, as a leader, it doesn't really suit him to be captain. He's not that kind of leader, right? And Johnny's had this kind of conversation with me as well. But at the same time, it's also kind of like, too bad. Players in all sports have had to figure out that role. LeBron James wasn't exactly a leader or a clutch player the first 5-6 years of his NBA career. You have to figure that shit out. Hey, when we're talking about the best of the best, we're talking about the most elite, that has to count against you. Losing against Roma the way they did, it counts against him. It's like Federer and Nadal. You're going to say Federer is the greatest of all time.
Yes.
Except, how can you give it to him that he's the GOAT when in a matchup Nadal's had him in his back pocket almost every single time? So, like, he's the GOAT.
I like him better.
Fair enough. So Johnny, me and Fadi say Maradona.
I've stayed quiet. I'll let you guys talk. Look,
You didn't say quiet, mate. Come on.
it's a tough one because obviously
I think you're running out of time. Just end it there.
I've run out 20 minutes ago. I've run out 20 minutes ago, but I love them both. Obviously, they're both very close to my heart. Messi, Maradona. It's hard to pick. What annoys me though is that Messi gets judged on the World Cup thing. So 2014, what people forget, 2014, we made it to the World Cup. A lot of it was thanks to him in the group stage and the Switzerland game.
Was that that goal from outside the box? Was that Switzerland game? Or was that another one?
No, that was Iran. In the group stage.
1-0. I rember that.
Yeah, in the 93rd.
Was that at the Roxy?
He was too.
Fuck,
90
fuck a lot of chorizo that
93rd minute. That was. So yes, look, I agree with you. I don't think Messi should have been the captain in that World Cup. I think Mascherano was a real captain. Messi, what I said was the marketing captain. So it was about having Messi, a photo of Messi lifting the trophy if they were to win it. That's why he was the captain.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's not the real captain. He was the marketing captain.
How much do you remember, like exactly, of the 2014 World Cup games?
Everything.
Everything.
I'm not talking a Darcy level.
No, Darcy. The Darcy level. How many goals and assisted Messi score in the quarterfinal?
No, that's the problem.
How many goals and assists did he score in the
The later stages is where he didn't.
Fucking and that.
Well, am I talking or are you talking? I thought you already had you say. Let me
He's just trying to
talk.
shoot down the argument.
Let me talk. You don't know where I'm going with this, so just let me talk. It's unfair to judge him on the World Cup because in the final, if Higuain scored the chances that he missed, is Messi all of a sudden seen a different light? If Palacios scored the chance that he had, is Messi seen a different light? Whereas Maradona, he didn't score any goals in the final.
He didn't score any.
Okay.
So you're saying,
But he
you're saying-
did. He
Let
did set
me-
up the deciding goal
Let
in
me
the final. did he
fucking
not?
hear this guy again. Am I talking or are you talking?
Or you
I'll let you
talk.
talk. Let me
You wanna
finish.
talk?
So what I'm saying is, on a national level, he might not be what Maradona did, but if it wasn't for Messi, Argentina would not be in the World Cup in Russia. His goals decided. You look at statistics when he played and we didn't play, the numbers were really low. His goals decided. The last game, they needed to win in order to Argentina to make it into the final. Messi scored a hat-trick against Ecuador away, which is not an easy task, and Argentina made it. He scored against Nigeria to make it out of the group stage. Look, it's hard to compare.
Shouldn't have won that game.
It's hard to compare Messi and Maradona when it comes to club football. What Maradona with Napoli is out of this world. What did Napoli do before Maradona? What did Napoli do after Maradona?
Nothing and nothing.
So, but when you picking players individually, Messi as a professional, as a footballer, a lot more professional.
Yeah, but this is a sign of the times.
No, can we agree on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Messi a lot more professional.
100%.
Messi a lot more consistent.
Okay.
Yes, so he's been doing it for. We're just used to what he's been doing. So this year he only won top goal scorer of the league. That's nothing for Messi. So we're used to a certain level that he's given us.
That's true.
He's given us.
There's
so
an expectation there now.
you're exactly right.
Yeah, but he's raised that bar.
To me, as a footballer on the pitch, on a consistent level, Messi is better. Now, as a complete footballer, you're gonna have to give it to Maradona. Maradona is a leader, and when it comes to football on a holistic level, personalities count. And you speak to the Argentinian people, they feel represented by Maradona. They feel like he was there fighting the system, fighting FIFA, fighting for the lower classes. He did come home with a World Cup trophy. Maradona represents the people more. As a symbol, he represents Argentina more. Is that fair? Is that unfair? Because Messi might be a bit of an introvert. He doesn't like the spotlight. I don't know. Are we judging Messi because of his personality and he can't help it? I don't know. Maybe football is a cruel sport.
Unfortunately, that's how you get judged, though.
But as a leader, as a personality, that's where Maradona gets the upper hand, and that's why I'm going to give my vote to Maradona over Messi.
I'm gonna say I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I mean, especially the way how argumentative you were. I really thought you were gonna hit Messi. I feel like while you accept Maradona as the greater player, you really don't think that Messi's getting the respect he deserves.
Well, I just think that it's not as easy as people say. Maradona, Messi, definitely Maradona because he won a World Cup. It's not just. It's
you're
not.
right.
It's not just that argument. What Messi did, and this is what I'm talking about, nostalgia, guys. 20 years from now, we're going to look back and think Messi is 10 times bigger than we're appreciating right now.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's where I'm going with this. And because Maradona played 30 years ago, we're looking at it differently.
Yeah,
but the next 20 years is not going to be another Messi, and we're going to appreciate him a lot more.
Yeah, and I mean, look, everyone's victim of circumstances, and you can only play within the time that you've been given. I would argue that Messi is perhaps the most talented footballer of all time.
Wow, good.
But at the same time, the decisions he's made and the way his life has gone has put him into a situation in which it's hard to argue for him. Playing for a club like Barcelona his entire career, not moving to clubs that were smaller. So when you do have historic players who have accomplished more with less.
And it's also his playing style. He walks a lot on the pitch, and that pisses people off. It's a smart move a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Because he creates spaces and he gets between lines. But the walking on the pitch is not a good look. So people, and I'm talking about people in Argentina specifically.
Yeah.
You're playing in finals. You've lost 3 finals in a row. There's a lot of things that went against him. Unfortunately, results do count as well. But personality is the deciding factor between Maradona and Messi. Any last points before we go, guys?
I've only got a question.
Yes.
Messi 2022 Qatar. Is he finally going to bring it or not? I think he missed his opportunity, to be honest.
Look, if he does, I don't think in 2 years' time, to be completely honest, I don't know if Messi should be a starting player for Argentina.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
so I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
The answer's no.
Is Argentina going to win it? I hope so. Personally, only God knows. But yeah, I don't think Messi should probably be in the starting squad. Anyways, that was a good episode, guys. I enjoyed that one.
Cool.
Like I said, these are conversations we have after a few drinks around the barbie or in a pub. So it's good to bring it here. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good night. Take care, guys.
So yeah.